Good morning. God bless you on this 23rd day of November. Is that right? 23rd? Praise the Lord. My name is Pastor Curtis, coming to you live from Zurich, Switzerland, the city where Jesus would live if he was alive right now. Everybody knows that, right? Zurich is so beautiful. So we welcome you. We're teaching the whole book of Revelation. I don't know how long we've been teaching this now. Susanna, how long have we been teaching this book? You don't know either. If she don't know, nobody knows because she would. Several months now, yeah. And so a few months, and we're winding down. We're getting there. But we want to do the whole book because I guarantee you won't get the chance to do this again because most churches don't preach on the whole book of Revelations. They might teach a chapter here or two or a couple verses. But the whole book, it just doesn't really happen that much. And before I taught on this, I've never, in 33 years of ministry, I've never taught in the book of Revelations for some verses, of course, but never the whole book. And that's the only book, have you thought about this? It's the only book that he promises to bless you if you read it. There's of all 66 books, he never says, I will bless you if you read John or Genesis or Exodus. The only book he says you will be blessed if you read it is the book of Revelation. And I must be honest with you, I'm so blessed reading this book. I really am. I'm overly blessed reading this book. I found some things out about Jesus that I never knew before. I found some things out about the Father I never knew before. As a matter of fact, we always call it the tribulation, but the tribulation, let me be a little scientific, the tribulation is the first 3.5 years. The great tribulation is the last 3.5 years, okay? That's the wrath, the last 3.5. So some of our terms have not been real clear because we didn't understand it ourselves. But I noticed this. I noticed that the Bible is being just more and more revealed to the normal believer. I know a lady who got born again only about 2 or 3 years ago, and the knowledge that she has, I did not have in 10 years when I was a Christian. So God is expanding, like Daniel said, knowledge shall explode on the earth, and men will go to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. And just in the palm of your hand is a phone, and this machine you have 100,000 Einsteins in your phone right now. You can ask Google anything you want and somebody knows. And now AI is on Facebook, AI is in Google, AI is everywhere, AI is in the chat room, AI is everywhere. Because it's one of the systems that the enemy will use in the last days. Now, I thought it was interesting that the Saudi prince was in America with President Trump. Now, if you knew what I knew, just seeing those two together, making the $1 trillion deal, it was $1 trillion. Everybody's throwing out trillions like crazy now. Elon Musk got a $1 trillion deal for 10 years for Tesla. The Prince of Saudi Arabia gave Trump $1 trillion to invest into the United States. So a lot of trillions are being thrown around right now. A lot of money is being moved and moved and moved and moved right now. But all of this is part of the end times. These things are supposed to happen. Okay? Now, don't be surprised one day you wake up and there's no more cash. You cannot get cash anymore. There are some countries already that are cashless. China, for once, is cashless. They don't use cash in China. They use WeChat. I actually had WeChat on my phone because I was in China 3 times. And so in order to do things, you had to go on the WeChat And then from WeChat, you can do everything from buying a ticket to flying to getting some chicken to getting your hair done to get your nails done to everything on one app. But it's complete demonic surveillance. They know exactly what you're buying, what you're selling, where you're going, where you're traveling. And they even have a social system in China. If you get so many points on your score, they'll say, we deny you the freedom to fly, or you can't leave the country. All kind of penalties. But that's how China is. I mean, they are the greatest surveillance country in the world. I just looked and I saw China has 200 million cameras in the whole country. 200 million cameras watching their people in the whole country. And so that's complete surveillance, okay? I read a story in China where a man was walking across the street. They call it jaywalking in America. You should walk across the zebra stripes, but he walked across another way. And nobody saw him. I mean, he thought nobody saw him, man. When he went to go look in his bank account, he noticed there was around $30 missing. He said, hey, who took my $30? And found out the government took out the $30 because they fined him for walking across the street illegally. And he didn't know who took out my money until he inquired. So here's the government taking money out of your own account. That's complete surveillance, okay? And these things are going to happen, and we just need to keep an eye on it. Now, I want to go to the slide 1 first. I'm going to get out of Revelations for a moment, because I want to go here, because you're not going to understand the beast with the 10 horns and the 3 horns here and the 7 heads. You won't understand any of these things unless I get us a little bit of education on the what a lot of this has to do with the book of Daniel. But I want to start with what Jesus said. He said this, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword. This is talking about the end times. They shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive, talking about the Jewish people, into all nations. Did that happen? Yeah. Yes, Jews went everywhere, right? All nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, who's a Gentile? A non-Jew. Now, if you're born again, you're not a Gentile. But before you were born again, you're a Gentile. So Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. But we got to find out, when is the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled? Okay. Now, John in the book of Revelation, he's talking about this I'll call them power pack. The Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, that's not the Antichrist and the false prophet. These two working together. Now you got to remember this. I'm trying to contain myself because I have so much revelation in me right now. But you got to remember, the devil was kicked out of heaven, and he was very angry at Adam. He was so jealous of Adam. Even the angel says, what is man that thou art so mindful of them? You made them a little lower than the angels. So Lucifer was really, really mad at Adam. And then he took it out because the weak link, hear me right, the weak link was Eve. I didn't say the weak link was women. I said the weak link was Eve, okay? And so he goes through the weak link like he always does. He goes through the weakest link, and then that's how he got in the door. Well, Adam, we know the story. Adam got kicked out. But then, and you have to remember, before Adam was kicked out of heaven, the devil literally had access to heaven. He could come to and fro. He's actually the accuser of the brethren. You look at the book of Job, it says, where do you come from, Satan, today? Oh, going to and fro, looking who could I could entice, who I can tail on. That's what he does. And so The devil knows in the last days that his time is so short now. He is trying to stop the redemptive plan of God. He's going to do everything, but he's coming down with great wrath. Now, here's the part that you have to understand. He is so mad, so mad that completely, I don't know, raging mad, that he says, I'm going to do, what am I going to do? I'm going to use the false prophet, and I'm going to give them all my power. And he literally possesses the Antichrist. And he possesses him so much that he does all kind of evil, bad things on those, especially the last 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. So many bad things happen. So all of this book is leading up to that. And that's why you have to look at this the whole big picture. And when you look at the big picture, you see God had a plan from 7,000 years ago. And the thing is, 7,000 years, think about that, 7,000 years. And the way things are going, it looks like you will be one of the ones who don't physically die. Think about that. 7,000 years of generations of people. I mean, Adam, Eve, Methuselah, all the way down Ruth, all those people lived and died. And all you did was live. All you did was live. Live and rise. Live and rise. So there is a generation who will not physically die. And I believe you're one of them. I believe I'm one of them. Amen. Why do I say this so much? Because when I read this book of Revelation, when I read Daniel and hear Daniel's vision, because remember, Daniel had a vision of Nebuchadnezzar, and a lot of Daniel's vision has to do with the book of Revelation. That's how you can make the whole picture when you put Revelation and Daniel together. But I don't have time to preach the whole book of Daniel right now. So I'm trying to piece it together for you, okay? So John introduces these two power-packed, the duo, the Antichrist and the false prophet, okay? Now, the Antichrist, he is a political powerhouse, okay? In other words, he's going to be a political leader. He's not going to be a religious leader. The religious leader is the false prophet, okay? And these two are going to join religions and state. So it's going to be like a state religion. You remember what Constantine did in Rome? He made Christianity a state religion. That's exactly what's going to happen during the tribulation. There's going to be a state religion, and guess what that religion is going to be? Islam. It will be Islam. That will be the state religion. And let me give you a clue of what the mark of the beast is. Forget about the 666. It really doesn't have much to do with that. It has to do with the Arab language. It's 3 letters in the Arab language. And this letter, if you look at Hamas wears these headbands around her head. You ever seen Hamas with those headbands? If you look at the words on there, one of the words says, one of the 3 words says, Allah is God. Okay? So now remember, everyone, I'm trying to not say too much, to go too fast, but everyone who doesn't take the mark is what? Is what? Or what? No, if you don't take the mark, what happens to you? How do you die? Beheaded. Who beheads people today? Who's the king of the beheaders today? Yes, but who? What nation? I know Islamic, but what nation? Because they do a survey every year. Which country beheaded the most people? No. Saudis. Saudi Arabia beheads more people than anybody on the planet. So if you don't, here's the mark. The mark is if you don't take these symbols of Allah, I serve Allah, that's the mark. If you say, I don't take that band on my head, where's that? It's on your forehead or it's on your right hand. And they have it right there on their forehead. If you look at, I just looked at an x-ray of the letters of the Arabic language, and that's what it says. That's the mark that they carry on their head, that we serve Allah. We serve Allah. And there's going to be such a deception with the Muslim people, with the Antichrist, that they're all going to be so deceived that they believe him. They literally believe and will give their life for him. Now, there's some other technical things that I want to tell you, but I'll tell you those later. But I want you to get an idea of the everything takes place in the Middle East. Everything takes place surrounding Israel. All the things that are happening are right there in the Middle East. And there is going to be this Antichrist who is going to be a political powerhouse. And then you have the false prophet. Now, this false prophet, anybody have any idea who he is? If you call somebody a false prophet, maybe you were a prophet, but now you're false. Who would it be? Muhammad? No, remember. There you go. You guys are pretty good today, yes. I would say it could possibly be the Pope. Because, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But let's go to Revelations 13, 1 through 4. I want to read something for you before we go on. And it says this. Number 2, yes. No, let's go to number 2 first. Revelations 17, 2, 3. Let me see if I'm at the right place, because I have a lot of verses today. Let's go to first to Revelations 13. And that's going to be found in slide 8, I think it is. And it says this, and the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns. Here's where the 10 horns come in. The 10 horns and 7 heads with 10 crowns on his horns. Now, this is going to be very confusing if you didn't have someone to explain it to you. So he had 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name, the beast. I saw resembled. Now remember, on each head, everybody said head. Remember, the Hamas, they have these bands on their head, and they have a name on there. It's Allah. It's blasphemy to say Allah is God when you compare it with God, with the real God. Okay? So it says, the beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Now, people think that this Antichrist has a real flesh, a real wound in his head, but that's not what he's talking about here. I'll explain that to you in a second. Everybody thought he had some kind of real flesh wound that he's bleeding, and somehow he gets healed, and it's miraculous. But that's not where we're going with this one. That's not what that means. I'll tell you here in a second. It says he gave his beast his power and his throne. And look at this. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne. Right? You see that? You see where I am? Let me read it again. So I'm starting verse 1, 13:1. And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, and 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power And see, we're going to talk about here in a minute 7 kingdoms, okay? And these 7 kingdoms, starting with let me give you the name of the first ones, because we remember Alexander the Great. You know what? I thank God. I know Alexander the Great did some terrible things, but one thing he did, he was the one who caused English to be spoken throughout the whole world. He conquered the whole world, pretty much. And he was the one who caused the English language to go all over the world. And that's when we begin to print the Bibles. So Alexander the Great, yes. And we're going to talk about these kingdoms because Daniel talks about these kingdoms. And if you don't know about these kingdoms, they're called horns and little horns. I'm telling you in a second, okay? So just hold on. I have all of the notes here. I'm going to show you here in a second. Now, it says this in verse, let me see, in verse, it says this. The beast, the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne. Well, who has a throne? King. Who? The king. The devil. The devil has the throne. He is the what? Little g, God of this world. He gives his throne and his power for a moment, for a short season to the Antichrist. We're going to see it here in a second. It says, the beast I saw, and I already read that right here, but the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the wound would have been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Men worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can wage war with him? And now, because of the signs, he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast. So this is talking about the false prophet, and we're going to, and then the Antichrist, he is going to be deceiving all the peoples of the world when they see this miracle being done, and all the people, because people follow signs. Remember what Jesus says? You Jews seek signs. People follow signs and believe things because of signs, and that's going to cause them to be deceived. Very well deceived. So it says this, then they'll even cause the people to set up an image so that the people begin to worship the image, just like the Jews did in the Old Testament. And this beast they'll say, who is like this beast? He's like God. No one's like him. No one can defeat him. And let's look at Revelations. I want to go to Revelations chapter 7. That's slide 2. Now here we go. The angel said to me, why are you astonished? Talking to John. I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that she rides, which has the 7 heads. Here we go. 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw once was, now this is a little riddle, but I solved the riddle. I have the riddle down, so I can tell you what the riddle is. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and will come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come. Who can understand that? The Holy Spirit. And you in a second, okay? So the angel said to me, why, John, are you astonished? Why? So I'm going to keep reading this verse. We're going to go to verse 8. The beast which you saw, look, go to verse 9. Go to verse 9. It says this. This calls for a mind of wisdom. And see, when you read this riddle, it calls for a mind of wisdom, but the wisdom of God to understand this. Sometimes God hides things from people. He doesn't want them to know. But for us, we have to dig and we'll find. And it says this in slide 9, this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. What city is known as the city on 7 hills? Anybody know? Who? Rome. Rome has always been known, even in ancient times, as the city on 7 hills. Okay? And it says this, there are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, one is, the other has not yet come, but when he does come, he must remain for a little while. What does that mean? I'll tell you here in a second. Hold on. The beast who once was and now is not is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7th, or the 7, and he's going to his destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. It's really not that difficult to understand if you read the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel holds all the keys. Because remember, Daniel had this dream, and he saw the end times. He saw, and even the angel told Daniel, he said to him, seal up the book. Don't say anything until the right time, okay? And it says this, if you want to know the needs or the heads that Daniel was talking about, they represent the kingdoms, the heads of the beast. Daniel's vision of the 4 wild beasts, the 3rd beast, which represented the Grecian Empire, had 4 heads. That's because when Alexander the Great died, shortly after he conquered the whole world, his kingdom was divided in 4 parts, north, east, south, and west. Cassandra took Macedonia in the western part of the empire. Lycimus took Thrace in the northern part of the empire. Seleucus took Syria in the eastern part, and Ptolemy took Egypt in the southern part. The 4 heads on the 3rd beast in Daniel's vision represents 4 kingdoms. So we know, based on Daniel's vision, that the heads on the beast represents kingdoms, okay? Daniel was only concerned with the kingdoms that would reign during the times of the Gentiles. Remember, the Bible says the time of the Gentiles. And then once the time of the Gentiles was over, then that's when Jerusalem will go back into the hands of the Jews. So Gentiles, which he wasn't talking about the Babylonian Empire or the Medo-Persian Empire, because at that time, the Gentiles didn't have control of Jerusalem. So it says this, so his vision did not include 2 of the previous empires or kingdoms, even though they persecuted the Jews. Who was the first one, the first kingdom to persecute Jews? First one. You know the story. If I told you, say, oh, yeah.
Saul.
Who? The first king to persecute the Jews. Saul was Jewish. The first king. Pharaoh, come on. Egypt was the first kingdom. And they persecuted the Jews. Remember that. And then when Daniel was taken hostage and all the Jews was destroyed by Babylonians, they were the second. So then we got 2 of 7. So his vision, Daniel's vision did not include Egypt and Assyria. Don't get the word Syria, Assyria. It's not the same location, same place. So we know that Moses, in Egypt, Moses was the first kingdom. And then and it was called the Exodus. Everybody knows the story about that. And then Assyria conquered. And remember, a lot of times we forget this, that when Solomon died, the nation of Israel was divided into 2 parts. It was divided into the north and the south. And I can tell you what, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And that was, I actually can tell you about this. It says the ancient kingdom of Israel, which was under Saul, David, and Solomon, divided into 2 separate kingdoms in the late 10th century BC. The widely accepted date for this division are around 931 BC or 930 BC, shortly after the death of King Solomon. So a lot of us don't remember that Israel was divided the north and the south. And it's amazing because the capital cities in the northern kingdom was Shechem and Samaria. The capital of the southern kingdom was Jerusalem. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm talking about these kingdoms is because remember, in the book of Revelation, we got these 7 kingdoms who throughout history, and then one of those kingdoms is going to come back to life. That's the kingdom where he died, but he comes back. He died, or he was no more, but in the last days, he comes back. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So it says this, the time of the Gentiles, Jerusalem is going to be controlled by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. We just saw that in the book of Luke. When did the time of the Gentiles begin? It began, they even have a date. It began 586 BC, when the city of Jerusalem and the temple were destroyed by the Babylonians. And the Jews were carried off into captivity. That would include Daniel, Meshach, all those men. They all were taken slaves. So Daniel's vision was only concerning the kingdoms that existed or would exist during the time of the Gentiles. Here's a list of the world empires. I had a list of the 10 nations that could be listed, but I won't give it to you because it's too much information. But here's a list of the world empires that persecuted the nation of Israel, because these are the kingdoms that God is interested in, the ones who persecuted Israel. And these are the ones that we're going to focus on, and especially in the book of Revelation. The first one was Egypt, remember? If you remember Jacob and his children, they went down to Egypt and they became slaves because Pharaoh arose that did not remember Joseph. Then you have Assyria. They came in, conquered the northern 10 tribes. They carried them into captivity. And of course, we had the Babylon around 722 BC. Babylon came in and defeated the southern kingdom around 586 BC and carried them into captivity. Then you have the Medo-Persian Empire. Then you had the Greek Empire, and last you had the Romans. So those were the 7, okay? And last was the Romans. But then the last, the one in the book of the Revelation, you're going to find out that revived Roman Empire comes back. And so instead of it being another empire, it's going to be Rome again. So Rome is going to be in the picture, and mainly the Pope. He's going to really be in this picture. I mean, we're going to see some things where, now remember, how many Muslims are in the world? Anybody know? In the world. How many? 1 billion. Yes, 1 billion. How many Catholics? 1 billion. 1 billion. 1 billion Catholics, 1 billion. How many Christians? Us. You don't know. 1 billion. Billion. How many Chinese? 1 billion. How many Indians? 1.4 billion. There's a lot of billions out there. I think we have 8 billion people in the whole world right now, right? So there's 2 men who control 2 billion people. The Pope, because there are Catholics who will follow the Pope all the way to the grave. They'll go all the way. I mean, they'll follow him no matter what happens, no matter history. They'll follow all the way. And there are Muslims who have killed for 70 virgins. And they'll go all the way. And there are those Christians who will go what? All the way for Jesus. They'll go all the way. And so these 2 men have great, especially when they are influenced by the devil. When they have the devil's power, they will do some things that you wouldn't even believe. I just saw a video the other day of, anybody know Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast? You guys know Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast is the largest YouTube channel in the world. He has 459 million followers. 459 million followers. Don't you think that Antichrist would like to have his influence? Have to be on his channel? Of course he would, right? Well, anyway, he had a race or an event where humans had to how you say, compete against robots. Humans had to compete against robots. So one was kicking a football. And this robot, who they programmed this robot, I mean, this robot, when he kicked that ball, he was so precise. Every time he kicked it, it hit the spot, right on the spot. Then he had a robot that was a golfer. Every time that robot hit, and he was competing against a real golfer. Every time that robot hit that ball, it hit right. I mean, you couldn't get it any better. Then he had one robot. They had one of the strongest men in the world, and they had to flip over 5 cars. And once you flip over 5 cars, then you had to pull down a big bus off the hill. And the strongest man in the world, he was there, and the robot did it. And the strongest man said, "This is for humanity. This is for humanity. We can't let robots win." That's what he said. And I mean, he got to the last second. That robot was flipping cars like boom, boom, boom. And the man was flipping cars, boom, boom. I mean, a real car, just flipping it up. And then at the end, the human won by just half a second. And then they had a race. I couldn't believe it, Susanna. They had the fastest man in the world, and they had 3 robots, and they all raced him. He beat all 3 of them, thank God. But these things were quick, fast, and they looked like humans. They looked like humans. And then he had another was to kick an American football. See who could not just kick it the farthest, because it wouldn't be fair, because no man could have that much strength, but who could hit it right where it needed to be, the perfect spot. That thing, boom. The human, he kicked it 4 times, he couldn't even get close. So these robots are going to be a huge part of the end times, a huge part of the last days. And we're going to see more and more and more robots. Did you hear what Elon said the other day? Elon said, he said on TV, I don't think that we will need to be working anymore. Anybody hear him say that? Yes. Did you hear him say, and we won't even need money? Did you hear him say that? Yes, he said that too. He said money will be nothing. Money won't be a thing, is his words. Money will not be a thing. It will have no value, he said. Well, everybody's looking at him saying, what? What? And remember a couple years ago, I told you about what's his name? What's his name? Klaus Schwab. that name. Remember he said, it is the year 2030. You will own nothing and be happy. You think that was a joke? That's where they're headed to. They don't want you working, but they want to give you a universal check, a monthly stipend, a monthly salary. And Elon Musk even said going to work would be like a hobby. You can go if you want to, but you won't need to. Now, if you can't see where all of this is hidden, and rapidly, I took out a Christmas tree yesterday. And I said to myself, there's no way 12 months went by. I remember looking at this Christmas tree, like to me, was like 6 months ago. And now I'm putting the Christmas trees back up again. So I decided next year, I ain't taking it down. You got to put it back up so much sooner. It's crazy. Okay, so let's get here. I know this is a lot for you, but I'm trying to condense it where you understand. Now, here, go to slide 13. We're looking at 13:1. I'm looking at this because there's so many notes. I have so many notes. Oh, here we go. We're in Revelation 17, 12 and 13. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not received a kingdom, who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose and will give their power and authority to the beast. This, of course, corresponds to the 10 toes on the feet of statue in Daniel's vision and Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The feet with 10 toes represented the revived Roman Empire. that would be made up of these 10 kings. Now remember, most people believe, especially Westerners, we always believe these 10 toes was Germany, Spain, France, Switzerland, Italy, and 10 European nations. Because he said the revived Roman Empire, they think that it's the European, but it's not, because the Roman Empire stretched even all the way down to the Middle East and stretched over there by Turkey. I mean, it was vast. So he's not talking about the European Union. Somebody said this: if he was talking about if the 10 nations were European Union, the European Union is its weakest ever. The European Union has never been weaker. I mean, Germany is still trying to fight the Green New Deal, the environment. They're breaking, all the people are broke, the country's broke, businesses are closing down because they're following the green agenda. I mean, that's a religion itself, worshiping air and all these things. And so the European Union is weak. It's not strong at all. So this European Union could not fit this. It has to be other nations. And I'm going to show you where they are. Now it says, the feet with 10 toes represent the revived Roman Empire that was made up of these 10 kings. Okay. And it says the Antichrist would come along and he would pluck up 3 of the horns. In other words, he would conquer them. And one of the nations that gets conquered is, have you ever noticed that you don't hear much about Jordan in the end? You know why? Because Jordan has to protect the Jews, because Petra is in Jordan. You understand that? And so there's one reason why Jordan will be, even in the New Jerusalem, Jordan is part of that, okay? If you read some history, you'll see that. So the 7 remaining would give their power unto him, but they're still going to be kings. They're just giving their power and authority to the Antichrist. Daniel's vision and the rest of biblical prophecy is coming just as it was prophesied. So what do the 7 heads on the beast represent? They represent 7 kingdoms. Remember, the heads on the beast represent kingdoms. So the 7 heads represent 7 kingdoms. 6 of the heads represent past kingdoms, and the last represents the revised Roman Empire. So every one of these kingdoms, 1 through 6, are going to represent the previous 6 empires, and the 7th is going to represent the revived Roman Empire. The beast has the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. And listen to this is pretty interesting. The beast has the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. Those are characteristics of all the past kingdoms put together. Okay? If you remember in Daniel's vision of the 4 wild beasts, the Grecian kingdom was like a leopard. The Medo-Persian kingdom was like a bear. The Babylonian kingdom was like a lion. Okay? And then we go down to Revelation chapter 13:2. Revelations 13:2. The beast I saw, this is John, the beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. So as you can see, the beast in Revelation is combining all of these kingdoms together and all the characteristics together. It's like a super kingdom. It's putting all of those kingdoms into one, and all of their power and all of their wisdom and it's all compacted into one. That's the last empire, and that's the one the Antichrist controls. And he's powerful. He's unstoppable for a season. Okay. Now it says this: the final Gentile kingdom. That's why it has 7 heads. 6 of the heads represent the previous kingdoms, and the 7th head represents the final kingdom, the Roman Empire. Now go to Revelation chapter 7. I want to look at something here. Revelation 7. I don't know where that is on your slide, but you have to find it yourself there, guys. Okay. Now, if you remember, chapter 7 is explaining the mystery of the woman and the mystery of the beast. We look at verse 9 and 10. It says this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings, 5 have fallen, one is, and the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for a little while. So now you know that is the Roman Empire, right? Go to Revelation 17:18. And this woman you saw in your vision is the great city which rules over the kings. I wanted to show you one verse here. Revelation 17:9. Oh, I just got Revelation 17:18. That's in slide 5. And this woman you saw in your vision represents the great city that rules over the kings of the world. This calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. Who's the woman? If you remember in chapter 7, who's the woman? Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. If you remember, the chapter 7 is explaining the mystery of the woman and the mystery of the beast. Look at verse 9 and 10. This calls for a mind of wisdom, and 7 heads or 7 hills on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings, 5 have fallen, one is, the other is not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for a little while. Does everyone know who the woman is now? Who's the woman? Revelation 17:18. This woman you saw in your vision represents the what? It's a city. The woman is a city. What city is it? Rome. Yeah, I think I told you last week how the Catholic religion started, right? It started in Middle East, the Catholic religion. It started over there by Babylon. Babylon. And then they took it to a little bit outside of Babylon, still in the Middle East. Then the story is amazing. The story of how it's almost like you transplanting evil spirits, transplanting them from one location to another. And they transplanted that evil spirit to Rome. And that's where the Catholic Church was birthed, right there. Did it start out as believers? Some people, I even read in some of the studies, that people thought that Peter was the first pope. I'm sure you heard that before. But Peter had nothing to do with the Catholic Church. None of the apostles did. None. That was all man-made stuff. I mean, even the way they pick popes today. I mean, they picked an American pope. You think God won American pope? No, I don't think so. So the way it started in the Middle East, it came to Rome, and Rome became the seat of power. They had all power. And anybody know how rich the Catholic Church is? The Catholic Church owns all the best real estate in every country. Every country where there's a Catholic Church, they have the greatest real estate. I mean, the location. So just their real estate is hundreds of billions of dollars. Just their building. This church over here by our church, if you bought that church, what do you think you had to pay for that church? Right there in the corner, with nice parking, big building. I think they said that seats 700 people. That thing would cost millions. Millions. And then the Catholic churches in America, in Brooklyn, in the major cities, The Catholic Church owns them. They're not loaned. They don't have a mortgage. They own those. And that, not to mention that all the money comes in from all the faithful Catholics who give their 10% to the church. So it's a rich, rich, rich entity. Yet they wield so much power. They even wield power in the nations. They wield power in United Nations. They wield power in Geneva. They have a lot. That's why I say the Antichrist and the beast are going to marry the political with the religious together, just like they do today, the Pope and his group does today. They wield great political power. Well, so did the Sadducees and Pharisees in Jesus' day. They also were political. Men, there's nothing new under the sun, put it that way, okay? So this is what it says. Rome is going to be the capital of the beast. It's the capital city of the revived Roman Empire. Someone just told me the other day that they had inside information, if this happens, you'll know it's true, that the United Nations, which is located in New York City, will move to a new location outside another country. They even mentioned what country it would be, and it would be in a place called Babylon in Iraq. Is it Iraq, right? In Iraq. Well, this other person, he's really knowledgeable. He has inside information. He said, is it any wonder that they're building the fastest, most powerful AI in the Middle East? And one is right outside of Babylon. They got a plan. Because remember, the Babylon, part of the overall, it will revive. It will come back. And all of that's going to be over there in the Middle East. So when you think about these nations, and when I really, there's a few men that I follow very closely, very closely. I follow President Trump very closely. I listen to everything he says. I listen to Netanyahu, everything he says. And I listen to MBS, everything he says. MBS is the leader of Saudi Arabia. And in that order, that's the order I listen to him. And the reason why is because of what I read in the Bible and what I see taking place on the world stage. I see this thing is coming together, but faster than what I thought. And I'm just going to say this, just be wise with what I say. Keep your eyes on Saudi Arabia. Take your eyes off Europe. It has nothing to do with it. Europe's. Yeah, here's my, I always told Susanna this. Here's my reasoning with Europe being part of the 10 nations, the 10 toes, is because of this. Israel would have to sign a peace agreement with them, is that correct? The 7-year peace deal. Well, you tell me what a European country doesn't already have peace with Israel? None. Every European country already has peace with Israel. So why would you need to sign a peace deal with a continent that you already have peace with? You sign peace where there's no peace. Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, Israel, Syria, Israel, Sudan, Israel. I mean, I'm going on and on. You don't have peace with those guys. But now they're bringing up this, what they call Abrahamic Accords. And this Abrahamic Accords that may literally be the Antichrist agreement. That may be the agreement. If it's not, it's very close to the pattern of how it's going to be. It's going to be a 7-year deal. At the end of the Antichrist is going to be able to negotiate where Israel was going to be able to offer their sacrifices again We know the story. At the end of 3.5 years, he breaks the peace agreement. And then he commits what they call the desolation, the abomination in the temple. You know that story. And all of these things are just almost in hand's reach. That's how close they are to happening. If you don't believe that, I just saw an article yesterday that this is what the article said. Worldwide debt, worldwide, not America. America is 33 trillion. But it said worldwide, that means how much all the countries of the world are in debt. Do you know what the number was? $300 trillion. All of the world, and that includes Switzerland too. They're in debt too. $300 trillion is how much the world owes from printing money, printing. You can never get out of that. So they're bringing a new system. It's a beast system. So this beast system is coming. This beast system, Susanna, give her some water. Give me, yeah. Just give her a bottle of water. Oh, yeah, I know, but we want to make sure she's okay. Okay. So it's this monetary system that's coming is right around. Have any of you have experienced, like my wife and I have, and my mother-in-law, have you experienced going to get some cash out of the machine and you can't get some? I have. Have you experienced trying to get cash out of the machine, but they only give you less than what you asked for? Why? Have you experienced going to this machine right here and it's down? They are slowly getting us to the point where there's not going to be any more cash. It's going to be almost illegal to use cash. So you don't want to be carrying cash. And so this is it's supposed to be cashless society, not cashless nation. The whole society will be cash. In Austria, I keep an eye on Austria. I have a lady I follow in Austria. She said the old people were supposed to be paid a certain amount of money by the government. And the government said to them, we will pay you this money, but only if you open a digital wallet. Philip, you hear that? You got to have a digital wallet or you don't get the money. And then let's not talk about how many times you forget your passwords. I mean, you forget your passwords all the time. Even when you just wrote it down. And then you go back and say, there's no way. That's all by design. Why do you think your iPhone needs to update every 6 weeks? All by design. They're getting you hooked. I mean, my wife says all the time, I mean, if they offer me something right, I don't have to remember all these passwords, I'll take it right now. I'll take it today. Something that I don't need to remember all the passwords. You know? And so they're surveilling us, they're watching. And I mean, yesterday I was like, oh my goodness. One of the guys said, I'm an expert on electronics. I'm an expert. And so I listened to him. Expert in what? Electronics, he said. I used to work and develop these things. I would never have a phone, he said. I would never have a TV, he said. He said, you know those TVs, smart TVs, they're smarter than you. They're listening to you. They see what you're watching. They listen to your conversations. He said, your phone, one guy showed, they turned off his mobile phone. They turned it off. And he said, watch. And you could still hear. And you could still talk. And he could still read from a phone that's turned off. It means nothing turned off. Because they know exactly what they're doing. And where are your iPhones made? Yes, China. A country that has 200 million cameras. I don't want to scare you, but it's all true. This is everything surveilled. They're watching everything. What can you do about it? Nothing. Somebody asked me, is AI demonic? It's not demonic if you. I just saw I saw Kevin on Kevin Zadai on AI AI video riding a horse. It looked just like him, voice like him, face like him, everything like him. It's not him. I mean, I don't know if it's him or not. He was riding a horse, And he has horses. He has horses. So, but you don't know. Nowadays, you don't know, and you just have to Somebody said they asked a lady who's an expert. Well, how do I know if this AI film is false or not? She says all I can tell you is just look at their lips. If it's not syncing, the sync, then you know it's not right. But now they're getting, and they only get better. They get better at the skill. Pretty soon they'll be able to. Man. So anyway, I'm going to start right there. This is where we have. This is where we are. I know these things are coming down quickly on us, but I want you to keep your eye on Saudi Arabia, and the one reason why is because President Trump came from the Middle East a few months ago. He went to Saudi Arabia. He went to, I think, Doha and Qatar. I think it's 3 nations, and it was an AI conference. And the ones who sponsored it, or the ones who benefit the most from that, is MBA. Is it MBA? Is that what his name, babe? Yes. MBS? MBS, yeah. The Saudi prince. And then 2 months later, then he goes to America, which was just last week. And what was the conference about? AI again. So many Bible scholars believe that in the last days, part of this deception or this wound on the head that is mentioned in the Bible, it could have twofold meanings, would be used like AI. Because nowadays, I mean, I saw an AI video of a bear attacking a baby in the yard of the house. It looked so real, but it was all fake. But it looks so real. So if you don't know and you're open to deception, Jesus says that the apostles asked Jesus, "What will the sign be of your coming in the time of the end?" He says, "Make sure you're not deceived." That's what he said. Make sure you're not deceived. So deception will be the number one thing that you have to deal with in these last days, because there's things out there that look and sound and taste and real, and they are not. Amen. So we have to get ready for these things. Amen. So with that, we're going to sign off, and we'll see you next week, and we'll pick up here, and we'll move along. Okay. God bless you. We'll see you on the next broadcast.